Welcome back to Demigod Debut. I'm Mal, blue cupcake enthusiast and longtime Percy Jackson fan.
And I'm Julie, Percy Jackson. I'm going with proby, like probationary.
Yes, I love it.
Because I don't think I'm a newbie anymore after finishing the first series.
I would agree. I think you've leveled up.
I've graduated.
You've earned your first series certificate.
Yeah. I need like a little hat, like with a tassel.
Oh my god, I need to make one of those little memes that's like, you did it!
Oh my god, yeah.
With a star.
With a star.
Yeah, this is a podcast now about Julie finishing the Percy Jackson series. We made it. We did it. I'm feeling a little sad, a little emotional.
Who thought we'd be here?
Certainly not us.
Baby's first Percy Jackson series.
Mm-hmm.
And this week we are joined by Sky, aka Fantasy Rants, the owner of probably the coolest Percy Jackson book collection of all time.
Howdy. I own a lot of Percy Jackson books. I've been hunting forever. In the comments of my TikTok a long time ago, a lot of people are like, oh my god, you're like the Percy Jackson librarian, the one who delves into the archives and finds rare copies of these books. So I've been low-key dubbed the PJO librarian. I love it.
I feel like you also probably get a lot of like, hey, you should leave your windows open at night and also tell me where you live so that like people can steal your books.
I genuinely don't think there's a single video that is about my collection that doesn't have that. So that is probably one of my favorite comments. I love it, especially when I get a new addition to the collection because I have a lot of advanced reader copies on my shelf.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately for my husband, he has to deal with my Percy Jackson collection being out in the open in our living room to the point where we did not get a dining room table.
That's where the Percy Jackson collection should be, though, like out in the open for all to see.
Yes. And he was like, oh yeah, when we move, are you going to put your collection there? I was like, no, babe, we have 30-foot vaulted ceilings in the living room. You're building me bookshelves that go all the way up, and then we're doing a hidden pocket door into the hall.
I love it.
And he was like, oh.
Amazing.
Okay, I was like, it's next to the fireplace. Where else are we going to put this? Like, there's a vibe that has to be met. And so...
Absolutely. Listen, if he doesn't appreciate it and you want to switch from a husband to a wife, like, I would appreciate it, is what I'm saying.
I am not opposed. We haven't been married a year yet. I'm sure we can get an annulment.
Julie and I got a divorce on this podcast. Now they're gonna have a wedding. It's gonna be great. It's fine.
Oh my god! Milestones for days.
Yeah. Anyway, so I did have an introduction question for you before we got off topic. Same introduction question that all of our guests get. What was your demigod debut or introduction to Percy Jackson?
Oh my goodness. So when I was 11, I was homeless that summer. And then my mom was like, I moved in with her husband's sister at the time. It's not her ex-husband. I don't talk to my mother. This is a crazy story, but I'll keep it close. But so at the end of that summer, my mom was like, I want to go find my kids. So then she made us move back in with her where she was living in a trailer park. So she had like finally gotten a trailer. We were like, okay, we're no longer homeless. Yay. And we had a friend who lived down the street. Her name was Kaylee, and the younger brother of her was actually my age. We were in the same grade. And he was like, do you like to read? And I was like, yeah, of course I do. And then he was like, do you like Greek mythology? I was like, I love Greek mythology. He was like, you should read the Percy Jackson and the Olympians series. And I was like, yeah, of course, I'll do that. Do you have the books? And he gave me the first 4 books Labor Day weekend. And the entirety of Labor Day weekend, I sat there with like spaghetti sauce on my cheetah print jacket and read the entirety of the series sitting on my porch while it was pouring rain. And then I was like, where is the 5th book? And he was like, the 5th book? What do you mean 5th book? And I was like, there's a 5th book. And he was like, no, there's not. And I was like, excuse me, yes there is. What do you mean? You thought that it ended at the Battle of the Labyrinth?
Oh my god.
And he was like, yeah, of course it did. I was like, no. Yeah, I had to go hunting for the 5th book. I almost flayed this man alive. Poor guy. But yeah, so basically I was like homeless, and then I was like, oh my god, my first introduction back into real society again is now Percy Jackson. And Percy was like this disheveled child almost my age who, had a rough childhood, and I was like, oh my god, it's me.
Aw.
I love that.
And that was my little debut. And then I read the Kane Chronicles, and then I was like, what else is there? And I read The Lost Hero, and The Son of Neptune hadn't released yet. And then I found it when I moved schools again. And then I read The Mark of Athena as soon as it came out, which was a travesty. And then, yeah, I read everything else as it came out.
See, I didn't get into Heroes of Olympus until right after House of Hades had come out. So I didn't have to do the terrible
Ugh.
long wait in between books. So apologies to all who did.
Yeah.
But yeah, I feel we've gotten some kind of crazy lore drops with that question in this book specifically. We had like, so my parents got divorced, and then now, so I was homeless, and
Yeah.
I love it. Everyone lives such rich lives.
And here I am, 24 years old, with multiple accounts dedicated to a children's series.
Listen, nothing is real, nothing matters, and joy is a form of resistance, so here we are.
Exactly.
All right, so our last 3 chapters of The Last Olympian. Here we go.
Mallory, are you gonna cry?
Okay, I almost cried rereading these chapters.
I was also a little bit like, it's such a good ending, and also yeah, I might cry. I'm a little like, I can't believe we're here.
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy. Okay, chapter 21 is Blackjack Gets Jacked. I believe you made a prediction about Blackjack like going to the gym and getting real buff.
Well, I said that was part of it, yeah. And then I was like, I
Yeah.
hope Rachel steals him, which...
Right, which does happen, yes. Yeah, so Blackjack is not going to the gym.
He's going to the Pink Pony Club.
Yeah.
Yes.
Just kind of to recap, the last section of chapters, we defeated Kronos, and I got absolutely flayed alive by Julie and our guest last time, Sydney, because I said that I do not forgive Luke. I know, Sky, you were also not a Luke apologist, so that's why I had to invite you for this episode.
I am not a Luke apologist. Don't put words in my mouth, okay? That's not what I said. Just rewriting history here. What do you think you are, a Republican? Like, get out of here.
Well, what would you call yourself? A Luke sympathizer, or?
No, I'm just saying I understand. He makes the ultimate sacrifice in the end. I think that should count for something, okay? I'm not saying it erases everything, but he does sacrifice his life.
He tortured children for years.
He died to save the world. Like, it prevented the end of the world.
Right, like there was a purpose to it. It counts for something, but does it count for enough? That's the argument. Okay, but we already yelled at each other for a long time about that. But anyway, we defeated Kronos. We were offered a bunch of new jobs. Percy turned down his shiny new job as a god in order to get the gods to pay their child support. But Grover is now Lord of the Wild. Annabeth is Architect of Olympus. And there's still one more person who's going to get a fancy new job, but more on that later. So we start chapter 21 with Percy talking to Hermes. We kind of get an idea from him how the mortals are handling everything, and kind of already deciding that like Typhon was a freak series of storms, and kind of how the mist is disguising everything. Percy decides to tell Hermes that he owes him an apology for thinking that he's a bad father, because he realizes now that Hermes, not only knew that Luke was going to become evil, but also that Luke would make the right choice in the end. Hermes says that staying away and like letting Luke make his own decisions is the hardest thing he's ever done, and also like he shouldn't have gotten mad at Annabeth about it. And like, speaking of owing people apologies, like I don't think Percy owes Hermes an apology here for the things that he thought, but Hermes absolutely owes Annabeth an apology. So I don't understand why she's not here right now. Like, why did Percy and Annabeth split up? Why is Annabeth not a part of this conversation with Hermes?
I think Hermes is a coward.
Rick hates women.
Well, we already knew that.
Mm.
We already knew that. But it, like, Hermes is a coward. He was like, I'm going to apologize to Percy because Percy will kind of like push my apology to Annabeth, who I really should be apologizing to, like, because Annabeth is who that matters. Because I think Hermes knows that if he were to apologize to Annabeth, she would rip him a new one. And gods don't like to be put in their place. And he was like, Percy doesn't have enough stake in this game to decide how angry he should be for Annabeth. So he was just a coward.
I believe it. Yeah. I don't know. It's just interesting that Percy's like, I gotta go talk to Hermes, and Annabeth is just like, are you sure? Okay. Later. But I mean, I guess she probably doesn't want to talk to him either. That might be a conversation that they have later. Or never. Who knows? Hermes also gives us the update that Kronos isn't dead because he can't kill a Titan, but no one really knows what happens. All they can really do is hope that he's like so scattered he won't be able to form a consciousness again. He also says that all the other Titans are in hiding. Like, Prometheus apparently gave a whole long list of excuses to Zeus and will probably be laying low for the foreseeable future. Krios has apparently fled, and Mount Orthrus has crumbled, which is super fun and convenient that happened, because imagine having to go back to San Francisco, like back to the mountain that we ended the Titan's curse on, and then also kind of had part of the end of Battle of the Labyrinth on. Like, we spent a lot of time on that mountain, so I'm glad that we do not have to go back. Also, Hermes says that Luke died believing that his father didn't care about him, and so he's never going to forgive himself for that. And Percy says, no, Luke loved you at the end. He realized why you couldn't help him. And to this I say, did he?
I think that was a little making Hermes feel better.
I do too.
Yeah, and that's another reason why I think Hermes is a coward, because he knew that Percy would be like, actually, no, let me make you feel better because you're boo-boos. Whereas Annabeth would have been like, yeah, you were very, very ridiculous
Yeah.
and tone deaf and hard-headed.
But you can't tell the grieving father that, yeah, your son probably died hating you.
Because you sucked.
And that's, like, you gotta live with that.
Why can't you?
Well, you can, but
Percy's not like that, though.
Percy's too nice.
Percy's got a lot of compassion. Maybe too much, but
Sometimes.
Emotional intelligence king.
For sure. And Percy kind of closes out by saying that Hermes can honor Luke by recognizing his other kids and kind of making sure that they don't end up feeling neglected the way Luke did. And Hermes ends up giving Percy a list of his kids that he needs to get to camp. And I'm like, stop giving Percy jobs. He's done enough.
Let the man rest. Let the boy rest. He's a boy.
He's a boy.
He's freshly 16.
Baby.
He's been 16 for like at most 6 hours. Okay. Any other thoughts on Hermes, this conversation?
I really think Hermes is a coward. He should not have approached Percy and been like, hey, by the way, here's another list of my children. Like, you have that on hand and decided, I'm just going to let them chill out there and die. Really? It just goes to show, like, how tone deaf the gods are. Because we saw in the previous chapter that Percy comes to the harsh realization that deities lack a significant amount of perfection. And he was like, no matter what I do, I'm just going to be living that exact same life, falling into the same standards of forgetting that I care about people and then being too arrogant to do anything about it. And Hermes still is a god, and we're reminded of that despite him being one of the more humanized gods.
Yeah, you're right. It is kind of wild that he just like knows that he's got these other kids out there and just hasn't done anything about it. It's crazy.
Also, what do you think the odds are that he forgot one or two?
Oh, I'm sure.
I just think that would be funny. Not for the kids, but just like the gods are not giving him complete lists.
Oh, yeah. So, after Hermes, we get another interaction with a god, and Percy runs into Athena, and she's like, so you're gonna stay mortal? And he goes, yes, ma'am. Always wise to go with the yes, ma'am. But this did kind of make me curious, because I was like, yes, ma'am feels very not Percy to me.
When in doubt, ma'am it out.
Oh, absolutely. But Percy doesn't really call people ma'am. So I like searched in all my ebooks to try to figure out like how many times Percy has called anyone ma'am. And so he doesn't do it any other time in this book or in Battle of the Labyrinth. Nico, however, does call May Castellan ma'am when they visit her. Percy, really the only people he ever calls ma'am. He calls Mrs. Dodds ma'am like 3 times in the first chapter. And then when the like Nereid gives him the pearls, he calls her ma'am, and then he also calls Circe ma'am. So that's like 5 times total in the books. And then he also, when he first meets Zoe, he's like, I have to resist the urge to sit up straight and call her ma'am. Like, say, yes, ma'am. So, basically just women that he's scared of. He's like, yes, ma'am. He does it like 6 or 7 times, and that's it, counting this one. So, fun fact. But kind of wild that he does it 3 times in the first chapter alone. Like, first chapter of The Lightning Thief. That's the most polite we ever see Percy as he's killing his math teacher. Also in this conversation, Athena says perhaps she was wrong when she said he'd sacrifice the world to save a friend, because he seems to have saved both his friends and the world. But, like, if he's still alive, there's still time. And she also tells him think very carefully about how you proceed, and also tells him not to mess it up. This just feels to me like Athena's version of the shovel talk. Like, make the right decision here, don't hurt my daughter, and then now I'm gonna burst into a column of flames and, like, burn the front of your shirt to make a point. Like, it's just, I think it's kind of iconic to me. And then Percy meets up with Annabeth and does not tell her about this conversation. She asks him why he smells like smoke, and he's like, long story. But, like, is it? The longest part of me just telling this story was going through how many times Percy has used ma'am in the books.
Well, it's like you don't share the shovel talk. Like, if a dad would, like, give that talk to, like, the boyfriend, he doesn't tell his girlfriend what her dad just said.
I mean, that's true.
One thing that got me was Percy meets up with Annabeth at the elevator, and then he's like, she goes, "Why do you smell like smoke?" Girl, he smells like a million other things right now. I'm sure smoke is what you're focusing. He was at war.
He's stinky.
He's stinky. I was like, of all things, you're like, why do you smell like smoke? Things were just bombed.
Yeah. I've never considered, did they not get time to change, or even like do the gods not magic them into some new clothes? Because also, I feel like by the end of this battle, Percy's clothes are like in tatters.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Hold on. Now I'm like, I have to go back and I have to see what they say in the beginning of this chapter. Let's see. Okay, so Luke has died. Do. Yeah, we just kind of go through like what everyone is doing. But I can't imagine that the gods were like, ah, yes, we're gonna let these dirty children into our post-war celebration. So there has to be some sort of magical bath or something.
Well, the last time they were given like the kind of magical bath, which was the Titan's curse before they had the little solstice dance, like the gods did give them, and it was mentioned. I'm pretty sure.
Now we gotta go back to the Titan's curse.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, gods vote how to kill us. Let's see.
Unless they're just always celebrating very stinky.
I don't know.
I'm sorry, I'm making you do more research
No,
than you anticipated
no, because
today.
now I'm curious. I don't know if it says they got a change of clothes. Maybe they're celebrating Stinky all the time.
We have to operate under stinky.
I mean, I'm also like going really fast because I don't have time to like reread the entire chapter, but perhaps they're celebrating Stinky. Oh my gosh. So then they're like offering to make this kid a god, and he's standing there in like half of a shirt because he's been like taking sword slashes because it doesn't hurt him. Honestly though, that like changes the mental picture of what the final battle looks like, because now I'm picturing Percy in one of those like very 90s shirts that's like just in ribbons with like beads on the end. Like, that's what Percy's wearing.
I love it. So he's stinky, and she's like, "Why do you smell like smoke of all things?"
Right.
Wait, did you start smoking?
Wait, does that mean they kiss Stinky later on?
Oh, cool.
No wonder they didn't mind getting in the lake, getting thrown in the lake.
No, surely they change clothes.
Before, like, dinner. They ate dinner, right?
It's not mentioned.
Surely when they get back to camp, they change clothes.
I hope, for the love of God.
Please.
Get them some dove soap.
But Percy, I guess, would be Stinky when he meets back up with his mom and Paul, and like his mom hugs both him and Annabeth, and yeah, they were also like arguing with the security guard about needing to go up to Olympus, but they weren't allowed. Once Percy hugs his mom, he's like about to relax, but then Nico comes up and tells him that he ran into Rachel, and he tried to warn her that she would die, but she has stolen Blackjack and she's headed to camp.
That's my girl.
That's your girl. And I gotta say, I'm a huge fan of my girl in this moment, because when Nico comes in and is like, it's Rachel, and Annabeth goes, what's she done this time? Like, she will not let this beef go.
between her like sassy friend
Yes.
stuff earlier on, and then this, she's just
Yes, the italicized friends.
yes. I'm like Annabeth. She's so jealous. And then Percy is sitting there. He's like, "That's also my girl."
Percy like cannot multitask. He's like, I cannot think about these feelings. Everything I'm putting everything in a box and I'm gonna close it and I'm not gonna think about it. But Annabeth is like, I'm fighting a war, but I can also be jealous.
She's a woman.
Women can do a multitude of things all at once. Women are better at multitasking than men. That's just facts.
True.
Okay. Anything else on chapter 21? This one is really short. I think it's like 6 or 7 pages long.
All of these were like short. I mean, the last three chapters are all in like 29 pages or something.
Yeah, very short. All right. Chapter 22. I am dumped. So we have to find a way to get back to camp fast, chase down Rachel, but sort of have the aftermath of a war zone out there. And honestly, it takes long enough to get from like Manhattan to Long Island on a normal day. So they end up on the shore of the East River. Percy calls out to our old friend, the Hippocampi, and they race them back to camp. So we get one last visit from our good friend Rainbow. Make it back to camp pretty quick, and there's green light shooting out of the attic, just like there was in the dream that Percy had about May Castellan. And so he, of course, tries to stop Rachel, but gets stopped by some satyrs, and Chiron says he can't interrupt, because he's the one who invited Rachel here, because Rachel had a vision and believes that Hades' curse is lifted. So Percy's like, what if she's wrong, and Hades hasn't gotten around to lifting the curse yet? But I really don't think that the lifting of the curse is something Hades has to, like, actively do, because it feels like he kind of put a stop clause in there when he cursed the Oracle in the first place. Because, Julie, a couple weeks ago, you were like, there has to be some kind of loophole in this curse, because Rachel's going to become the Oracle, so there has to be some way that she's not going to go crazy. So I did go back and look at the curse, because I knew you weren't going to, because I was like, there is a stop clause.
You know me so well.
Yeah. I was like, you bring up an excellent point and you're not going to follow through, so on God, I will. So the curse, as Hades says, is, I swear as long as my children remain outcasts, and as long as I labor under the curse of your great prophecy, the Oracle of Delphi will never have another mortal host. You will never rest in peace, no other will take your place, etc., etc., etc. Number one, we're not totally there yet, but Nico's not really an outcast. Like, he kind of gets a hero's welcome, and like,
Nico.
everyone seems to be acting a little more favorably towards him than they were in the beginning, so. And then also, no one is really laboring under the curse of this great prophecy anymore. Like, it has come to pass. It's done. So, I think the curse just kind of broke itself.
It makes me think that like Nico's existence was 100% necessary to Rachel becoming the Oracle. Because if there hadn't been a child of Hades, so Hades never broke the pact, right? But if there hadn't been a child of Hades
Right,
that
yeah.
existed in this moment, then Rachel still would have gone crazy afterwards. So that's probably why it seemed like they couldn't get a new oracle since then, is because there wasn't a child of Hades to welcome.
Yeah, we needed a child who wasn't treated like an outcast, and we needed the prophecy to be complete. So,
Do
yeah.
you think that Bianca actually was the one who broke that curse when she was welcomed into the Hunters of Artemis? Or do you
Ooh.
think that people had to know they were a child of Hades and invite them in regardless of? I don't know. This is semantics. This is I'm like,
Interesting.
wait, like what are the intricacies of how this could have stopped?
Well, I mean, I think either way, you needed both pieces. Like, you needed both Hades' kids welcomed and, like, him to not have to labor under the curse of this great prophecy. And so, like, I think you needed the prophecy to be completed, and also. So I think, like, Bianca being welcomed would have been a step towards this. But also, I guess, because you can kind of look at the Titan's curse and see all the ways that, like, things could have ended there, and the prophecy could have
Mm,
been fulfilled there with a different child of the Big Three. And I guess you could also have this curse broken by a different child of Hades.
yeah.
Dang.
The
Layers.
layers. We've been talking on TikTok too much. Our brains have like started to enmesh.
We've been spending too much time talking about the Hunger Games.
Oh God. Don't get me started.
Okay. So this whole part feels very creepy to me, but also fantastic. So our Oracle mummy kind of emerges from the big house, And suddenly Apollo is also there, and he's asking Rachel if she's sure. She says it's her destiny, and she says this, and I quote, "I accept this role. I pledge myself to Apollo, god of oracles. I open my eyes to the future and embrace the past. I accept the spirit of Delphi, voice of the gods, speaker of riddles, seer of fate." It's a banger. And then the Oracle mummy crumbles to dust. There's a bunch of mist stuff, and Rachel almost dies, but then she doesn't. And now we've got a new Oracle, which it's great that this works, considering our mummy kind of crumbled to dust before this ended. Yeah, and also, Rachel gives her first prophecy, and it is as follows: 7 half-blood shall answer the call, to storm or fire the world must fall, an oath to keep with a final breath, and foes bear arms to the doors of death. And so we are back to 4-line prophecies after 3 whole books of 6-line prophecies.
Yay! Embarrassingly enough, I have all of the prophecies
Oh,
memorized.
same.
Like, all the way through every book of all of the series.
I was realizing that, like, Rick likes to use a lot of the same rhyming words. And so sometimes I'll, like, find myself inserting lines from the wrong prophecy because it rhymes.
I do that too.
I want to put the, like, oath to keep with the final breath and foes bear arms to the doors of death in, I think, the prophecy in the Battle of the Labyrinth has death in it, I think.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, because it's destroy with the hero's final breath and lose the love to worse than death. So sometimes I want to put an oath to keep with the final breath and foes bear arms to the doors of death. Like, there's only so many words that you could use that rhyme. Anyway, yeah, Julie, thoughts on Rachel as the Oracle?
I love it. She's a queen. Iconic. She will be young forever. Goals.
Her skincare routine must be good.
Like, girl, drop the retinol. What are you using?
Icon. Yeah, this is a great journey for her. I feel like the pipeline from Weird Art Girl to Freaky Oracle is fascinating and should be studied and makes perfect sense.
I agree. What killed me is Apollo talking about where are we going to store her? And he's like, I'm thinking a cave with heavy purple curtains. And all I could think of is if you've seen Encanto and it's like Bruno like creeping around the house.
Yes.
We don't talk about, and I'm like, and it's just like Rachel in like a cape and she's like creeping through the
Yeah.
curtains. So I'm like, icon.
Oh, if I was her, I would have a cloak. I would lurk around. I would be my weirdest self.
I would lean into it so
Yeah,
full. Like, you could not get me to stop being weird if that was me.
absolutely. It's an excuse to be my weirdest self, and that's what I need. Oh, also, Rachel does not remember giving us this prophecy. That very much might be the next great prophecy. Kind of wild. And Percy really wants to talk about it, but Apollo's like, "Don't worry. The last great prophecy took almost 70 years to happen. So like this is probably not even going to happen in your lifetime."
Mm-hmm.
Rachel also says that she's sorry she couldn't explain more to Percy. And Percy's like, "Well, I guess I'm happy for you." Like, he very much doesn't get this, and it's very funny. But, like, it makes perfect sense. So, like, Percy, what is there not to get? Also, Rachel is still going to be going to the fancy finishing academy that her father wanted her to go to.
She's a queen in the true sense, really.
And as she leaves, she tells Percy, "I don't have to see the future to tell you what to do now, do I?" She's like, "I'm fully out of the picture now, so I'm rooting for you two crazy kids." And the craziest part to me is that Percy's still not even really the one who makes the move, but more on that in a moment. Because I would imagine somewhere between here and the burning of the shrouds, we shower and we change our clothes and we, like, at the very least.
Please God, shower.
And this is going to be embarrassing if I go back and realize that they did actually have like a moment, like it's mentioned that they changed clothes. But if they didn't do it before, they definitely do it before the funerals. There's only 2 specific shrouds that are mentioned. Percy mentions Selena getting a hot pink shroud with an electric spear, and like both the Aphrodite and Ares cabins claiming her as a hero.
I almost cried at that part when I was rereading that. I was like, like the tear was like, and I was like,
Get back in there too. And no one mentions the spy thing. And then Ethan is also said to get a shroud. Percy thinks about how he made a difference in the end, and now the gods are finally going to get respect. It's interesting that we don't mention, like, Luke getting a shroud. I mean, I know, like, the fates took his body, and, like, we mentioned Luke getting a shroud, but it's, like, it's interesting that there's not one at the, like, camp celebration. So maybe I'm not the only one who has not forgiven Luke, you know?
I just realized the fates did ominously just take this man's body and then
They did.
where's his did they hand it back to Hermes? Like, what did they do? Because obviously,
What did they do with it?
like, May isn't good. Like, was that her closure? Is that how May's mind settles eventually? Does she stay in?
Well,
It,
I did see something online, and this I wanted to bring up at some point, and I guess no better time than now. But I did see someone say one of those like angsty TikTok videos, you know the type. But it was like, do you think that when Rachel became the Oracle and the curse was broken, do you think that meant like May's curse was also broken and she kind of came back to herself and sort of knew that her son was dead?
I honestly don't know what's worse.
Right.
Knowing that you sat for years, for 22 years, and made burnt cookies for a son who was never going to come home.
That line always gets me.
I know like becoming lucid and knowing that you did that.
Yeah.
And then now having to deconstruct all of this trauma. Like Hermes
Yeah.
obviously didn't run back to May and go, "I love you so much. Let's be together forever now," because he's a god.
Yeah, like, is it worse for her to know or to just kind of live in this sort of
I
ignorant.
wonder if when the curse was broken, if I think maybe her mind was still addled, but like the spirit of Delphi that was continuing her visions, and because there was like a small bit of the spirit that lived within her, but the small part of
Mhm.
the spirit that was continuing her visions and everything and creating that unrest within her mind, it probably got brought back to Rachel. So she probably is, I don't know, like a dementia patient.
I guess that best case scenario, as horrible as it sounds.
I know. I know that's what,
Ugh,
but what did they do with Luke's body?
very true. Why do the fates want it?
They were like, we gotta make sure Cronus' soul is out.
I guess they probably just, like, burned it on Olympus, right?
But do they do that for people who have
Well, because that's the point of, like, you put the body in the shroud and then you burn it. Like,
right?
that's the whole thing. So, do they.
Oh, if they're all burning these shrouds, does the smoke go up to the gods? Are they smelling their dead children right now? I'm sorry. I
That's dark. But also, I wonder how many dead bodies they actually lugged back to camp because, like, I would imagine we probably didn't find Ethan's body after he like fell off Olympus, and if we did, I don't know how like movable it would have been. I also like I don't know that we ever found like Michael Yu, so some of these are like empty shrouds that we're burning symbolically.
yeah, that's so depressing.
Okay, I just wanted to see. Okay, the fates just like take yeah, they just take Luke's body out of the throne room, and that's the last we hear about it. Where did it go? So many questions.
You made me think of that. You're like, yeah, and then the fates took his body, and I was like, hold on, they stole somebody. Like they stole a corpse, and then like nobody questioned this. Did it? Like you would think Annabeth would have been like, maybe can I have Luke's body so we can? But I don't know, politics, semantics, this,
Ugh.
all the icks.
Rick, please explain to us exactly when they showered and changed clothes, and also what happened to Luke's body.
Plot holes, Rick. Plot holes.
Okay. Anyway, after the funerals, we can get into the happier stuff. We have dinner. Grover and his tree girlfriend Juniper reunite. Mrs. O'Leary helps herself to everyone's table scraps. Nico's sitting at the head table with Mr. D and Chiron and like getting all kinds of compliments on his fighting. Love this for him. Everybody kind of clears out, but Percy stays at his table and just kind of stares at the moonlight on the sea. Very son of Poseidon thing for him to do. And then Annabeth slides in next to him with a blue cupcake and tells him happy birthday. And until this moment, he hadn't even realized that it was his birthday.
He was a little busy.
He was a little busy. They share the cupcake. They talk about saving the world, and Annabeth goes, and Rachel is the new Oracle, so that means she won't be dating anybody.
She's so down bad.
she was like, "What do you think about that, Percy?"
So Rachel's out of the picture. What are we?
I love her so much.
I mean, listen, she is a woman on a mission. I mean, she's the one who said when he was like, "Don't I get a kiss for luck?" She was like, "Come back alive, then we'll see." Okay, we came back alive. Now we're seeing. So I'm obsessed with the way that absolutely nothing Percy says here is like smooth at all. Like he does not complete a single thought in this conversation. Like he kind of starts by bringing up how when he was in the sticks he like had to concentrate on something to make him want to stay mortal, but he never finishes that thought to be like, "And that was you." And then he starts talking about how like he couldn't become a god because he doesn't want things to stay the same forever because things can always get better. And like, thank God Annabeth somehow picks up what he's putting down here because I absolutely would not. Because I would be here in this moment, like, yeah, you're right, things absolutely could get better. So, how's school?
So I'm gonna be so real with you. I was one of those people who didn't catch on that like Annabeth liked Percy because
She
like
kissed him.
I know, and I was like, oh yeah, kiss me. So you know how like Walker Scobell says he was like, oh yeah, I didn't realize. I thought like when they kissed, he just
Yeah.
that was me. I wish I was kidding. That was me. So like I was sitting there reading all of this, and I was like, why did this hit me? Like, why am I surprised by this? Because when I reread the books, I was like, oh, it's there. It's obvious. But like Percy, when I was reading the books, I was also in that like fight or flight mode constantly, like in the survival mode. So I was like, yeah, of course, like everything else doesn't matter as much right now because I have better things to do. It, so this conversation, I also would have been like, yeah, so are you ready for the semester to start tomorrow? Like,
Yeah, sophomore year, here it goes. Hopefully that'll be better than freshman year. But, it is making me think. Like it's reminding me of the way Percy reacted in the start of this book when the roles were reversed and when she was being kind of vague and being like, "Oh, all this with Beckendorf dying, really makes you think about what's important." And he kind of panics and he's like, "Yeah, so like how's your dad?" I feel like I approach romantic situations like Percy and I panic. But thank God that we're doing it the other way around, and Annabeth is smarter than both me and Percy. So Annabeth, she's having some fun with this really honestly kind of terrible love confession from Percy. So she kind of is making fun of him a little bit, and he complains that she's not making this easy for him, and he says, "She's never ever gonna make things easy for you, seaweed brain. Get used to it." And then we get our second Perciveth kiss.
and the crowd goes wild.
I know that my friend Robert, shout out to the damn meme page, is going to send me a text about this, but I also did not know that this kiss existed. So, for some reason as a child, I was convinced that their first kiss is the underwater kiss. I was like, that's the first time that they kiss. This is their first kiss. It's iconic. It's great. And then when I reread them in high school, I realized, oh, they do kiss before that. Great. And then it wasn't until later in college when someone had to tell me like, no, they kiss in the fourth book, because I just like read so fast. But after like every single episode we release, Robert texts me and is like, "So did you read these books?" And the answer is no, I do not know how to read. Percy also says he feels like his brain is melting right through his body as they kiss. Love that. It's up there with him being like, "I wanted to sit there and stare at the lava and try to remember my own name after the first time they kissed." Like, he's a wife guy, and I love it.
She is a wife guy.
He also says that he wants to just stay there, kissing Annabeth forever. But then all sorts of campers emerge from where they've been clearly watching. And Clarice and Connor kind of throw out ideas, and eventually we arrive on, let's throw them in the canoe lake. And so they carry them close enough that they can hold hands, which I just think is adorable. Like,
Wait, I'm trying to visualize this. Like one person is like holding Annabeth bride style on the side, and then another person Percy, and then they're like holding.
I don't know, I just think it's kind of funny because it's like, yeah, we campers are going to give you a hard time, but also we're very happy that you finally got it together because, we've been rooting for you two crazy kids. Because I'm sure some of these campers have been like in the trenches shipping Percabeth for years.
The Aphrodite cabin.
Yes. And one of the saddest things to me is that Selena and Beckendorf don't get to see it.
Could have gone on double dates.
They could have gone on double dates. We could have had more of those, like, Bronze Dragon type stories. Because what is that if not a double
You
date?
make the fanfics. Write the fanfics.
I'm wearing my pink Camp Half-Blood shirt today in honor of
Good.
Selena, just so you know. Because I was thinking about her.
Yeah, someone send us a good Beckendorf, Selena, Percabeth double date fanfic.
It's got to be there.
Do Selena and Beckendorf have a ship name? I know Clarice and Selena do, but do Beckendorf and Selena have a ship name?
Oh, do they?
That's kind of messed up if they don't.
People were so ready for the gay that they forgot.
No! And, like, I mean, it feels kind of especially yucky considering Beckendorf is, like, the one black character in this series.
Right?
Oh my god, did they not even have a ship name? They were in love! They were!
Beccalina? No, Charlena? I don't know.
Charlena sounds better.
Yeah. Because I'm like, even Selena and Annabeth have a ship name.
Selena Beth?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what? Ooh.
People just want Selena to be sapphic so bad.
They do. It's honestly Rick's fault for writing her so sapphic and then being like, just kidding, she has a man.
You can't make her Patroclus in the, like, stealing armor story and expect me to believe that she's straight. That is a bisexual queen.
Well, their children are now like the mirror of their parents too. And you're gonna tell me that that's not gay?
Oh yeah, because the, like, Hephaestus, Aphrodite, Ares situation.
And you're gonna tell me that that's not gay?
Yeah, you're gonna tell me that Selena is not having a love affair with the daughter of Ares. I miss her.
I love her.
R.I.P. Queen. Sorry you got manipulated by a man.
Happens to the best of us.
That's not funny, but
Okay, anyway, the iconic moment of this chapter. So, ultimately, you know, throwing a son of Poseidon into the lake is a really dumb move on their part because he simply uses his water powers to make a little bubble underwater to keep kissing Annabeth. And I love this. It's perfect. It's everything to me. Every fan artist under the sun has drawn this moment because it's everything.
Yeah.
Julie, underwater kiss thoughts?
Great in theory. Have not tried it. Wouldn't want to. I don't get in the water. I don't get into pools. I don't get into...
Yeah.
But there would be a bubble.
Fair, but you do have to be kissing like a son of Poseidon. Like, I'm not getting into dirty lake water
Yeah.
to kiss someone.
Maybe that might be the downside.
But then also, because logistically, I would imagine, you know, we've just got a bubble, like, around our heads. So, is the rest of us wet while we're doing this?
I imagine them as in an entire bubble.
Yeah.
Like, their whole bodies.
So, like, they're in an entire bubble and they're, like, standing on the ground?
Well, they're like floating. They're in a bubble.
But, like, what is the structural integrity of this bubble? Because it's, like, air on the inside, right? So they're not just floating in this bubble. They have to be touching something.
Babe, it's a book about demigods. I don't know what you're talking about.
Like...
You can't suspend your disbelief for this thing.
But, like, Percy can't fly, so he can't be just, like, floating in the bubble.
Well, no, like their feet are on, like they're floating in the sea. So the bubble is floating and then like their feet are just touching the bottom of the bubble.
Yeah.
Okay, so they're not, like, just going through the bubble. Sure.
No, it's them and then the bubble is floating in the lake.
They're just, like,
Yeah.
okay.
They're fully encapsulated in the bubble.
Okay.
Yeah. But I do want to point something out. I realized it while I was reading this. This chapter title has like a double meaning. I get dumped.
Oh.
They get dumped into the lake. He also gets dumped
Yeah.
by Rachel.
But also he was kind of already dumped by Rachel. Because multiple chapters ago, when she came to tell him that because I just made a meme about it today, but she came to tell him he's not the hero and basically say, like, I don't think I was actually ever interested in you romantically. And he's like, it's kind of lame that Rachel just dumped me when we weren't even dating. So, like, he was already kind of dumped by Rachel. So then this chapter being, I am dumped, is
kind of misleading.
Funny because, like, did he get dumped by Rachel twice? But I also just think it's very funny that the chapter is I am dumped, but that's the chapter he gets together with Annabeth in. It's good. It's good. Chef's kiss.
Well, so I think the I get dumped like portion between him and Rachel is the fact that Annabeth like knows
Yeah.
that he can't date her. It, she's like, "So you got dumped, huh? What's that mean?"
It sucks, but what are we?
Yeah. So I think that's more along the line of what it means in the sense
Annabeth said
between like
DTR, define the relationship, but actually they don't define the relationship at all. They just kiss. So like, what are they? Are they boyfriend girlfriend? Because he never uses the word girlfriend in this book.
no, he doesn't.
He also never says that they're like dating. So I could see, I don't know, is it like a tweet or something? I feel like somebody said something about like realizing years down the road being like, "Oh my god, we never like said that we're dating." Like I could see Percy like jolting awake sometime years down the road being like, "Oh my god, Annabeth, we never said that we're dating."
they
Like this just happened.
yeah, they never are like, "Will you be my girlfriend?" He's like, "I'm gonna romantically make out with you in the lake, and obviously you'll think I'm yours now." And I'm like, "Why would that not apply in Battle of the Labyrinth?" That no one wait.
Situationship.
So Annabeth kisses Percy. Maybe she was like, obviously that means we're kind of together to a degree. And then he goes and there's the Calypso thing.
Spends
And
yeah,
then
spends some time with Calypso.
and then she's like, he's on a short leash, so I gotta protect my feelings. So we're together, but I'm protecting my peace. And then he does all this summer
The
shit
Rachel
with
of it all.
Rachel, the Rachel of it all.
Yeah.
So that makes sense on why she was so angry.
Cuz apparently just kissing is we're dating, which like I guess in high school that makes sense cuz you're like, I don't know, at least to me in high school kisses were more serious, but
I don't know.
now I'm just like a girl holds up a thing on her phone that's like, "Are there any lesbians here?" And I'm like, "Hello, kiss me."
Kiss me.
I did that once, to be clear. Okay. I'm not just like kissing girls willy nilly.
I
Um,
did kiss girls willy nilly in high school. So when you're like,
I do wish I was kissing girls willy nilly, but like, I'm just like I can't portray myself as cooler than I actually am because I'm not. Um, anyway, anything else in chapter 22?
I don't think so. I love that chapter. It's like the
Yeah,
feel good chapter. It it hits you with like a little emotional instability, and then you're like, hmm, that's it. I think honestly,
so good.
I'm gonna be so real. I think the book could have ended there, and I would have been happy.
Honestly, I do too. I don't know that we need this last chapter.
Yeah,
But I also think we could have put some of these details earlier and we could have just ended with the kiss.
yeah, I agree.
Yeah. All right. So, chapter 23, we say goodbye, sort of. 'Cause there's like 2 more weeks of camp. And basically, the information that we get here is that like Grover's sending out satyrs to find more half bloods and like they're just pouring in. I do have to note that Percy's like, I think all the satyrs you have working for you are scared of you. And Grover's like, stop. You're as bad as Juniper. I think she wants me to run for president. And I just want to note that because I would be honored to vote for Grover for president.
Grover for president.
Please save us.
And we get a glimpse at like the new cabins that they're building. Then we get a conversation between Percy and Poseidon. But like this all could have happened prior to the kiss, I feel like.
Sort of. I mean, the kiss happened on his birthday. Rick wanted it to all be on his birthday and them together on his birthday.
Yeah.
And then he was like, okay, well, obviously they weren't going to be rebuilding before they even burned the shrouds. So I get it. I get it. But I
Mhm.
agree. I also think some of these details, because I felt like the conversations were just like Percy spawns here, conversation long enough to give enough details for the reader to be like, understood. Percy spawns
Yeah.
here, other it didn't feel natural.
We're just kind of like bouncing from interaction to interaction and just kind of tying up most of our loose ends and then moving on to the next little conversation. Oh, also speaking of never calling Annabeth his girlfriend, Percy and Grover have like the end of their little interaction. Grover's like, "You might not see very much of me because I'm going to be traveling," and Percy's like, "That's okay. You know, you're still my best friend no matter what." And Grover's like, "Yeah, except for Annabeth." And then they're like, "Yeah, but that's different." But never say because we're dating.
Mm.
I just what are they?
What are we? It's their situationship.
I mean, Julie predicted that they weren't going to end this book together, and I think she might be right, because are they dating? Are they boyfriend, girlfriend? What are they?
They're not exclusive until they've had the conversation. Those are the rules.
Right.
We don't know what conversation we had, and Percy struggles to define things, obviously.
Percy struggles to have conversations in general,
Uh,
especially when it comes to Annabeth. So,
One thing that I really loved is Percy was more territorial over Rachel taking blackjack than he was literally Annabeth. He was like, she
very
stole
true.
my horse. Why would she steal
No
my
one takes
horse?
my
No
horse.
one takes.
Percy Jackson is a horse girl.
Yes,
Oh god.
He is a horse girl first and a wife guy second.
because he was more territorial over blackjack than he was Annabeth.
Very true.
And I was like, you're mad that she stole your horse? Are you only mad because she dumped you a couple of chapters ago?
Yeah, he's like, if you're not my girlfriend, you can't ride the horse. Okay, so there's kind of two last conversations that we have here. Percy sees his dad on the beach, and his dad kind of thanks him for making him come and join the fight, because he's apparently been getting all sorts of thank you cards from the other gods. He also catches like a massive sea serpent and is like, I gotta release the little ones, or the game wardens are gonna be after me. Insane behavior. He also says he supposes that he can claim all his other sons and daughters and send Percy some siblings next summer. And Percy has no idea if he's joking or not.
And so births all of the fan fiction of Percy's siblings.
But I know Julie's campaigning for Percy to have a sister, so
I think it would be cute.
Yeah, it would be cute. I think most fan fictions talk about him having a sister.
yeah. We also get our bead of the summer here. It's got the Empire State Building, names of all the campers who died. Lovely tribute, kind of an intense thing to wear all the time, but... And now Percy has 4 beads on his necklace, which... I always forget that the Titan's Curse doesn't get a bead because it happened in the winter, but...
It's so unfair.
I know.
Yeah.
It's also wild because that's like the first quest that we like actually lose people on, and they don't even get a bead.
So, how big are these beads? I need to know, because how did they write the name of every camper who lost their life in around? I'm like,
It's like those things where they make art on a grain of rice, you know? Like they're really tiny.
ah,
That's what I'm picturing.
who's the rice art people? I mean,
Yeah, who's the god of rice art?
is it the Athena cabin that's drawing with a fine tip Sharpie on the rice and then magnifying underwater?
Who's the god of like painting and drawing? Is there
I think technically Athena. Crafts.
do we count rice art as a craft? That feels like an insane sentence to say.
But I don't know. It like, but that little bead makes me think of like when people in the military lose like their friend and they get that bracelet that's like corporal blah 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 blah, and it's like their death date. I'm like, dang, that's heavy for a 16-year-old to
Yeah.
wear, to be like, this is the memorial of all my friends.
Yeah.
Can you even read their names on the bead? I don't know. How big are these beads? They don't describe them well enough, in my opinion.
I mean, I've always pictured like a good wooden bead like this size. That's always what I picture.
Yeah, that's what I've pictured,
Yeah.
but how many children died?
I mean, we had 40 to start with, and at least 10. So, and then it's like, where do you start the like is Beckendorf on the bead? Do we go back as far as like the previous summer? Do we include like Zoe and Bianca, who also died sort of in this fight against Chrono? Like, how far back are we going with the? Is it just this summer?
Do you think they put Ethan's name on there?
Is Luke's name on there?
Luke's name is not in there.
I don't think Luke's name's on there.
Probably not. They didn't give that man a shroud.
Yeah. The Fates did something.
I'm
with
so
Luke.
concerned about like them taking his body and just
Why did everyone just let that happen is the real question.
nobody questioned him.
I mean, you want to get on the Fates' bad side? Girl, let them do whatever they want.
No, very true. Like, yeah, the Fates can do what they
But
want.
you know, like that meme of the kid that's like, and then he's like fading away, just like peace out. Like, that's the fates, like, with Luke's body, just
Yeah, just peace out. Okay, yeah, so after we get the bead, then it's like our last day of camp. We're off to the real world. Percy's going to be going back to good for his sophomore year, but, won't have Rachel this time, which is kind of a bummer. Annabeth also gives Rachel a hug goodbye, and Percy's like, wow, it's kind of funny. She seems to get along great with Rachel now. Wonder why that is.
Hmm.
Oh.
Like, I can't tell if he's being sarcastic or if he's, like, really actually being, like, obtuse here.
Neither can I.
Rachel also kind of worries that she's going to start giving prophecies in the middle of math class, which would probably make her some friends. Like, if I had a friend in high school who was, like, having prophetic visions about what was going to be on our math test, I'd have been unstoppable. Like, I absolutely would be befriending the girl who was giving prophecy. Probably not at first. It would probably take, like, 1 or 2 tests where she, like, makes a correct prediction, and then I'd be like, hey, this girl rocks, actually. Because she does the whole, like, the Pythagorean theorem shall be problem 2 or whatever. Like, if
Yeah.
so, like, I would be like, oh, this girl's messing around, but then I would get the test and I would be like, oh, the Pythagorean theorem is problem 2, wild. And so then I'd be like, hey, how did you know that? Can you get me more answers?
Yeah.
I was very academically honest in high school.
Were you actually?
Hmm.
Wow.
Oh my god. Mal, our academically honest queen.
Don't cheat.
Ever.
Don't follow my example because I was bad at it and did get caught and it was not good.
Oh my god.
Also, in huge news, Annabeth is going to be going to boarding school in New York to be near the Olympus reconstruction efforts.
And Percy.
And also to be close to Percy, her ambiguous relationship. Percy thinks about, what she said about building something permanent and how they might just be off to a good start, which is wild considering they're not even dating. Um,
Julie was right.
we also have to, like, rehash our prophecy that Rachel gave one more time, wondering about who the 7 half-bloods to answer the call might be, and, like, the world falling to storm or fire, the doors of death, and it is very cute the way that Percy goes, you've been thinking about Rachel's prophecy. And she's like, how did you know? And he's like, because I know you. Ah, cute.
Mm.
And Annabeth also says she was hoping that they'd have some peace for a change. And he says it might be a problem for another generation of demigods. And he says it's hard to feel too upset about anything when you're standing there on a nice day with her next to me, knowing that we have plenty of time and it's not a goodbye. Ugh!
I swoon.
He's so romantic in his narration, and then when it comes to talking to her, he's like, you fight good. So, Julie, just wondering, how much peace do you think they're gonna get?
0.
None? At all?
Rick will not let these children rest.
Okay.
So you're like, the prophecy starts immediately?
He's like Sarah Huckabee Sanders because she's the governor of Arkansas who just reinstated or got rid of a bunch of child labor laws, so she won't let children rest.
Someone introduced the child labor laws to Rick.
Yeah. Leave these kids alone.
So this makes me just like I was thinking about this while reading these chapters again, and I was like, Suzanne Collins wrote Gregor the Overlander series to discuss child soldiers and why it's bad. And then Rick is like, everyone wants to be a child soldier.
Rick is like, being a child soldier is so cool, actually.
He's like, the only way to fight for the gods in the Percy Jackson universe is only as a child, because people only want you as a child. They're like, once you turn 18, nobody cares about you anymore.
Actually, I think most half-bloods just don't reach adulthood, and so it's like...
Yeah. But there's also, like, if you do, like, you're gonna live probably a peaceful life.
Like, I mean, if you're gonna die at 16, your midlife crisis gotta happen at 8.
What was Percy's midlife crisis if this would have been his death?
What was Percy doing at 8?
Probably blowing cannons at
school buses.
I don't think he was 8 when he did that. I think he was 10, but
Might have, yeah, I can't remember the exact ages. Maybe the prophecy won't be about them and they'll be able to live to be old and
Mm-hmm.
it could, like, we never know.
Julie's like, I've heard you all talking about the heroes of Olympus. I know there's more.
Unlikely.
No, it's okay. Like there's a cast, right? So we don't even know if Percy is involved.
We don't know if anyone we know is involved. Percy could be coming back as the old cool mentor. Percy could not be coming back at
He
all.
could be Chiron.
Who knows?
He could be a cooler Luke.
Ooh. I struggle with the idea that Percy would be okay with being in a Chiron-like position, sending kids off to fight, you know?
He would not be. I don't think he would be.
I'm like, he would not he would not be cool with that. He would just keep trying to do everything himself, I feel like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Be like, why am I sending this child to go do this when I can just skippity pop away?
When I, the adult, could do it.
Yeah.
All right, and then we race down the hill, and for once, Percy doesn't look back. I think about this ending line a lot.
Not at the pine tree.
I'll shed a tear.
Don't say goodbye to your, friend's old corpse husk.
He's looking ahead. He's looking to the future, and the way that things are going to get better, and the way that they're going to have so much peace.
So much peace.
So I don't know. These chapters really just feel like an extended epilogue here. I don't know, Julie. Thoughts on this ending?
I like it. It was cute. Felt nice for once to end the book on a nice note.
It is, and with some hope.
I think the first book ends on a relatively nice note. Gabe is gone. He's made friends for the first time in his life.
Well, that's true.
And he has a sense of belonging, sort of. And he's like, I get to see my mother again. It's a nice note.
So the last bit of the Lightning Thief is, I'll be back next summer, I promised him. I'll survive until then. After all, I'm your son. I asked Argus to take me down to cabin 3 so I could pack my bags for home. So, it is kind of nice, but it's also like it's not...
It's bittersweet.
Yeah. And then the end of book 2 is, I am Thalia, the girl said, daughter of Zeus. That I think is the most banger ending of this entire series. Like, that one is...
That would have me gagged. Oh,
and then the last line of the Titan's curse is, Grover stared at me. Just 3 words. He said, I await you. Because, like, he hears from Pan, you know? And then I feel like the end of Battle of the Labyrinth is similar to the end of this one.
yeah, because they have, like...
Oh, no, it's not. Never mind. I think it's the second to last chapter, I believe, that ends with, like...
Because there's Percy's birthday party, right?
At one point in that book, he, like, watches Annabeth go down the hill and, like, notes that she doesn't turn to look. So that's what this kind of reminds me of. Anyway, yeah, the last line of Battle of the Labyrinth is, come inside for cake and ice cream. It sounds like we've got a lot to talk about. So, yeah, the Thalia line is definitely the most banger. This one is definitely the most sweet.
Mm-hmm. And I think the first one is the most bittersweet.
Yeah. He's like, I'm gonna survive until next summer, and more problems will come then.
Oh, God.
Julie, do you have any thoughts on, like, the book as a whole, or the series, or just closing thoughts?
Insert the Paul Rudd meme.
Yeah, look at us. Who would have thought?
Not me.
Not me. Do you regret it?
Of course not.
Yay!
Did you ever struggle, like, to not continue reading when you weren't supposed to?
I never, like, read ahead, but I wanted to read, like, the big fight scene before last week's episode, but I didn't. I waited.
Yeah.
I love a good action scene.
I'm proud of you. You don't know me very well, but I've been listening to the podcast, so I'm like, this is like a weird parasocial relationship where Julie doesn't know who I am at all. And then I'm sitting here, I'm like, yeah, I've listened to your voice for 200 hours or something.
That's wild.
So, Julie, you liked it?
I did. That was good. I don't know what my favorite book
And-
is yet, though. I need to go back through my notes. TBD.
Okay.
Do you have a favorite character?
I like Rachel. I think she's my favorite.
Is it because you look like her?
Maybe.
The redhead solidarity.
Yes.
Like, as soon as because I've never seen your face before, so as soon as you popped up, I was like, it's Rachel. I was like, Wow. And then I saw your name, Julie, and I was like, that's not Rachel.
Rachel Elizabeth Dare. She's here. She's on this podcast.
Rachel in the flesh. Here she
Yeah.
is. She's predicting the future of the next books right now.
Yeah.
Do you have any speculation on who maybe the 7 half-bloods might be?
I really don't. Because I feel like we're gonna get introduced to so many new people.
That's fair.
So I kind of want to see like Annabeth get like a close relationship with one of her siblings. I would like to see kind of some kind of dynamic there.
Okay.
Yeah, Annabeth needs more friends. It's also hard to kind of know what she's got going on outside of Percy because Percy doesn't tell us.
Right. We're stuck listening to him.
Give us the Annabeth POV book.
Yes.
All right. Well, it was lovely to chat. It was lovely to finish the Percy Jackson series.
Yeah.
Crazy. Lots of potential content to come. Not sure what we're doing yet, but to my knowledge, this podcast is not ending unless Julie changes her mind. And even then, I love to get on a mic and yap. So, I mean, there's the TV show. We also have to watch the Sea of Monsters movie because that's a film. That is a film. But yeah, we'll do something after we take a short break. Probably return near the end of May with something. Check out probably Instagram. I'll probably say what we're doing when we figure that out, because as of right now, as of recording this, it is April 15th, so that's like a month and a half away, and Julie's gonna read adult books, and I'm gonna continue to edit this podcast and enjoy actually getting sleep on Wednesday nights, because I have been pulling all-nighters
Oh my god, no.
to edit these episodes.
Oh my god.
You're crazy.
Which is my own fault. The executive functioning is not happening for me right now, so. Sky, do you want to tell the people where to find you? Social media, your podcast?
Absolutely. So my podcast, we are going to start recording episodes again here soon. We took a long break because one, I bought a house. Two, my co-host, he is becoming a published author in June. So he had to ramp up and do a lot of stuff really fast. So we had to take a long pause, but we are back on. So it's Fantasy Rants Pod. You can find us kind of anywhere you find podcasts, except for Apple Podcasts, because for some reason RSS was, struggling with that. We're still working that out. I'm on TikTok, Instagram, Fantasy Rants. I'm kind of everywhere. If you just look up Fantasy Rants, it's me. I'm on Tumblr. I have a bindery. It's bindery dot slash fantasy rants something. I'll give you the link if you want to put it in the description.
Yeah, I'll put all your links in the description.
So I'm most active on TikTok when I post, but I'm active on Instagram to post my stories because I love to kind of post memes all the time about Greek mythology.
Love to yap.
I love to yap. So Instagram, TikTok, Tumblr, you can subscribe to my bindery for free. It's just I post thoughts that nobody wants to listen to on TikTok. I'm on Goodreads if you want to see my snarky reviews of books that I think are terribly written. Yeah. And if you're seeking developmental edits for your novels, I'm also a developmental editor. I'm freelance, so you can just message me and I gotcha.
Awesome. You do a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
What do I need to do to finish this episode?
You need to walk down the hill and not look back.
Yeah, we're gonna walk down the hill and we're not gonna look back for once.
For a month and a half.
For like 3 weeks once this comes out. We also have to talk about our ranking of the books, so that's probably what we'll be back with. What a delightful time this has been.
Peace out.
Hi, you can find us on social media at @DemigodDebutPod. You can also find links to all of our socials in the episode description. If you enjoy consuming this podcast, consider leaving us a rating or review wherever you are listening. We'll be back in 2 weeks on May 15th with our final thoughts on the Percy Jackson series as well as our rankings of the books. See you then. Bye!